this morning. I'm going to get y'all the number. I'm fishing a little bit. May 27th is the revised completion date for the jail.
Move to approve is presented, and it's a long time coming. Commissioner Haggard.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Farias.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 14, annual 2020 B County Road Report.
Move to approve. I think our road administrator might want to say a few words on this. They put in a lot of work getting this thing ready.
I have a motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Mr. Gonzalez, would you like to make a few statements?
Yes, I'd just like to say everything's going good. We're 2-3 weeks ahead of the game. Our deadline is the 27th, but they needed to review it by middle of May, and everything's going, like I said, a little early. So we're doing good.
Gonzalez, that report was awesome. I mean, it's so detailed. You put a lot of work into it. You can tell all of your staff, so you can commend them and yourself for doing that.
Thank you. It did take a lot of time. Thank you, Commissioner.
Absolutely. Great work on y'all's part.
Any further discussion?
I just concur with both of the commissioners on the work that Road and Bridge has been doing for us. Outstanding job.
Yes, I also agree. And not only with just this, but everything that you have asked of your crew and yourself, it's been handled very, very well, and it is appreciated within the county.
Thank you.
They make us all look real good. They make B County look fantastic.
Excellent. Well, in that case, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you again, Mr. Gonzalez. Agenda item number 15, resolution amending fiscal year operating date for the Border Prosecution Unit grant number 2536909.
Move to
April,
approve.
we have a motion.
Commissioner DeWitt.
I'll
Second,
second
Farias.
Commissioner Haggard.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? April, do you have anything to add on this item?
No, these are just what we have to update for the grant, and it's just we have to amend it.
Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 16, request for intergovernmental agreement with the city of Beeville to assist on the issue of animal control outside the city limits. Commissioner Salazar, this is your item. I cede the floor to you, sir.
Yes, sir. What I did, Judge, and I appreciate all your help also, I contacted the mayor and the city manager was contacted, and what they drew up a MOU for right now, memorandum of understanding for our consideration and review. I emailed this document to all the court members and the animal control officer himself, and it's up to us now if we're willing to accept their terms and go forward with this. It's a project that has been long overdue. Unfortunately, the county does not have an animal control shelter in place, so therefore we're having to seek the help of the city, and they were more than willing to help us out. If y'all had a chance to go over it, especially Mr. Carvajal, the protocol they're requesting for us to abide by, does it meet any questions on that? If y'all had a chance to look at it?
If y'all would, I have a few comments. Excellent work, Commissioner Salazar. You did a great job and then getting us the salaries and one thing and another. And I appreciate the city jumping in to help out the county. Some things that I would suggest, this can get convoluted real quick, that the police department, the animal control officer, to my understanding, works for the police chief. And in the memorandum of agreement, there's supposed to be a deputy involved. He works for the sheriff. What I would like to see is that the two principals in this is the sheriff and the police chief, and they make the final decision. It's easy for people to call in to Mr. Carbajal or whatever and start putting a lot of pressure on him, whether they're the general public or a commissioner or a judge. But I would recommend we let the sheriff and police chief make the final decision on whether the animal control officer goes. And then on the fees, they've broken them down in great detail. I ran a scenario on a 100-pound dog for 3 hours, and it came out to $797, about $800. What I would like to see, in all honesty, instead of having to do the computations every time, is come up with a flat rate for one dog. If there's 2 dogs, there's an additional rate, one thing, another. Make it a lot simpler. We start getting into minutes of overtime and one thing or another. So my recommendation, the way I'm looking at this, it is outstanding work. It's a good first step, is that the police chief and the sheriff make the final decision on what to do, whether to call in the city animal control officer, and that we look at a flat rate instead of a per hour, per pound, per whatever rate. Those are my suggestions. Thank you.
The sheriff, are you there?
Yes.
Yes. What do you think of those thoughts?
Well, I would like to see a copy of the proposal. I haven't seen any of that yet.
I'll email you one today.
Okay.
And I'll get with you. Maybe we can get together with Chief Bridge and iron out the minor details. I honestly think they're workable, and I see that eventually we'll get this thing done as soon as we can.
Okay. Yes, I mean, we're definitely open to it, and I've met with Chief Bridge, and I know that they're open to helping with the situation.
If the rest of the court feels like Commissioner DeWitt, we can table this for now and certainly come back as soon as we can to finalize it, Judge.
Commissioner, I got a statement or a question to make or a suggestion. If I may, I agree exactly with Commissioner DeWitt said. The only thing I think would be beneficial to every party in here, instead of having the local rabies control authority, as I have stated before, in a different entity, I think we should unite the local rabies control authority and the sheriff's office together. That way it gives them full jurisdiction instead of having to call me or somebody else, a few days later. That way the sheriff or his staff can make the whole determination while they're there, because they're the first ones on the scene. Because it's time consuming for them to contact us, then me having to contact animal control, or vice versa the other way. That way everything is together and we can expedite this and take care of it all at one time.
Yes, sir. Let me do this, Judge, if you permit me. Let me try to set up a meeting with the sheriff, the chief of police, Mr. Carvajal, and maybe the city manager. And hopefully at the end of that meeting, we'll have something presentable that all parties will agree to, so we can move rapidly forward with this agreement.
You read my mind, Commissioner. I think you need to have Mr. Benson, the city manager of Beeville, involved with the sheriff and police chief and yourself as well. And I don't see any reason why Johnny can't be present either. And if y'all want me or another commissioner to be present as well, I'm sure any one of the remaining of us would be willing to participate, subject to scheduling. We don't want to make it so big that it slows down the process even more, but at the same time, I think you definitely need to have those stakeholders present in the room, and I echo the sentiments of the other commissioners in thanking you for acting quickly to get this moving forward. And I'd also like to extend our thanks to our counterparts at the city for acting quickly to get us a proposal and to crunch the numbers and try to look at this in a fair and equitable manner. So I really appreciate everything on all sides of this issue. Commissioner Farias, do you have anything, sir?
No, as long as we can get together, or Commissioner Salazar can get this knocked out, that way we can kind of tweak the numbers, or like Commissioner DeWitt, make sure that we have everything, no loose ends on it, and that way we don't have $1,000 bill every time we call them out or something like that. We just got to control the numbers a little bit.
Well, and just keep it simple. That's the key. Don't put a whole lot of extraneous stuff in it and minutes and hours and one thing or another. Keep it simple. 1, 2, 3, that's it.
Judge, real quick, just to those people that are viewing us right now from that area, I just want to make sure they understand that this is a work in progress, that we are going to get it done. I've never felt so good that the city is willing to help us out, and I think this is going to happen within the next 2 weeks. It's not.
I do believe so. And actually, from the meetings and discussion that we've had so far with Chief Bridge, if we have another incident prior to this becoming an agreement, I feel very confident they're going to be there to assist us.
Excellent.
Now, what we're doing is we would be taking a vicious animal to the vet, not to their kennels.
Okay.
Thank you.
Judge, and I would also recommend that if we feel there's an urgency and they can work out the contract details, that we call a special meeting just for that if we need to, sir.
Certainly.
I'm in agreement with that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I just want to add that as long as we can streamline the top section of it, and this is including the sheriff, the chief of police, and everybody involved, to handle the situations to the residents of B County. As Commissioner DeWitt and I and Commissioner Salazar have been here the longest, this has been an issue for a long time, and some of us longer than most. And so, yeah, whatever we can do to streamline the top to where it's quick and the actions are quick and I guess cost effective also. So that's my take.
Yes, and we have to realize at this point in time, there's no money set up in a budget, so we'll need to find some funds, Madam Auditor.
There's that look.
Tell them it's audited, no money. No money, there you go.
They're all Mr. Willow screen again.
In emergency situations, if something should happen within this fiscal year, this is very doable. But yes, we will have to look at it for fiscal year 21
Yes,
to
ma'am.
work something into the budget going forward.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion to table.
I have a
A
motion.
second.
I have a motion and a
Commissioner DeWitt.
second.
Second, Farias.
Thank you, everybody. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 17, resolution amending authorized representatives for our investment service tax pool.
Move to approve. Commissioner DeWitt.
Second,
Second.
Commissioner Haggard.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Agenda item number 18, quote to repair emergency generator for the sheriff's office jail. Sheriff?
You know, this, the generator, of course, we got it in 1989, so it's an old generator. So parts are very expensive for it, but this company came out and said that it was our injector pump. It was $14,000 is what it costs to fix this injector pump. One thing I want to point out is in the future, I think we're going to look at maybe another contract company for these generator maintenance, if there is another one. I'd like to give a really huge shout out to Mr. Aguirre, our maintenance man. They came back, they put this new part on there and it still wasn't working right. They started talking several thousand more dollars for injectors because they were bad. Actually, it was going to go to $18,000
on top of the 14.
Yes. Mr. Aguirre is old school mechanic. He may not have been able to work on it with the computer, but his ears and stuff. He watched them and he made a couple suggestions to them. They didn't take those suggestions. When they left to go look for parts, he got on there and rebled that engine. It's running fine. It did need the first new part and it's very expensive, but we're about to get suckered into another almost $18,000 repair bill that wasn't necessary.
Sheriff, being so close to being into the new office and all, I know we need a generator, but I mean, is it wise to
Well,
spend that money? I mean, we can almost see daylight at the end of the tunnel here.
where we're at now is that's already done. And it was actually, this didn't just happen, I mean, today, but it's already been repaired and it's up and running again. We can't go very long without a generator because of the jail commission. And after we had already ordered the parts and so forth, we found out that we'd have to get with Mr. Willow more, but there's at least a possibility we may have been able to get a generator from the state. And if Mr. Geary hadn't fixed it, we would certainly have been trying to seek that. I understand $14,000, that's a lot of money, even for an injector pump and all the labor. But then to come back and generically say something else is bad at $18,000, when all Mr. Geary did was re-bleed the injectors. I don't know if you're familiar with diesel engine, but they get air and you have to bleed them.
If you
So
would,
is
Judge,
there not a maintenance, a monthly maintenance plan on this thing, or wasn't it being started or anything like that before this?
Oh, yes, yes. I mean, it comes on every once a week. The generator starts on its own. We have a monthly maintenance plan that we do. We have a maintenance plan with the company. I believe it's Laughlin or something like that. Lofton. And we have a maintenance contract with them. But when the ejector pump went out, there were multiple reasons that they said it went out. And part of it was old fuel and so forth from the bottom of the tank. I can see that messing up the injector pump. So as hard as it is to swallow the $14,000 cost, what really is sticking with me is the additional $18,000 for all the injectors needing to be replaced when they didn't need to be. So
Judge,
that throws.
I just want to add, Commissioner Farias, injector pumps are just age and
Yes.
conditions of fuel, and you can't decide when it goes out. It is either going to run or not run. But again, I must commend Mr. Aguirre for his old style thinking because that's generally what happens. They start running rough. You need to be looking for things like broken lines, sucking air into the fuel, things like that. And I think that's why Commissioner DeWitt and we lean a lot towards propane and butane and even natural gas, because that is never ending fuel and it never gets old. Diesel, yes, diesel does get old. And I'm sure we have that in the new jail now. Am I correct?
that is correct. They wouldn't let us put natural gas or propane in.
Okay, so my suggestion, and I'm an old school diesel guy, my suggestion is we clean that tank at least every 2 to 3 years, whether it be completely clean it out, open it up, wash it, whatever needs to be done. We need to service the tank because I know we don't burn that much fuel.
Commissioner, it's just
That would
like
probably be
it's just like a farmer out in his farm and his tractor. About once a year, he needs to drain all that fuel out because it gets water in it. It can get kind of an algae substance in it. It needs to be drained out, new fuel put in, and then probably a fuel conditioner.
Yeah.
You know, is there a way that we could keep a minimal amount of fuel in there, and then say that some hurricane develops out in the Gulf, then we can, you know what, we need to put several hundred gallons in that thing.
Commissioner, that's counterproductive, because if you don't keep it full, then you get moisture that starts building up in there, and it really ruins your
Okay.
injector.
All right.
Top of the tank. But no, it's an excellent idea, whether it be that tank or a secondary tank, one or the other. Yeah, one way or the other, you could do that. But again, I think just a simple maintenance of cleaning the tank periodically, decide a year, 2 years from now. Most companies will take the fuel back and replenish fuel. Mr. Gonzalez, you might want to jump in on that one since you run through a lot of diesel fuel.
Judge, I'll make a motion to approve with an additional comment.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second.
Okay, the amount is $17,204.74 to Laughlin Equipment. You know, I always try to look for the good in everything. Now think about what we might can do with that generator whenever we get ready to move out of the old jail. We can move it to the Coliseum. We weren't able to put generators out there. And since we're spending all this money on it, I realize it's 1989, but no more than it's been run, service it, put new stuff on it, send it to the Coliseum. We might can use it out there, gentlemen.
I got an April Cantu question. Where's that money coming from?
Okay, well, that's why I had the sheriff's office put this agenda item on the, on our agenda, because there will have to be a budget amendment. And so I wanted to have the court aware of it beforehand, and, claim an emergency, which this is an emergency situation, but we formally go through the minutes. And so next Commissioners Court, you will see a budget amendment for what was spent over, over what the sheriff's office budget is.
Let me change or alter my motion to say that approve the expenditure and authorize a budget amendment at the same time
I'll amend my second to include that also.
as an emergency.
We have an amended motion and amended second. And just to justify the emergency nature of it, it's a requirement that we have backup power generation in a jail from our Jail Standards Commission at the state level. So this wasn't an optional repair. It was an unfortunate necessity, especially in light that we're almost to the new jail. So hopefully there will be no more jail surprises, old jail surprises before May 27th. But thank you all for doing that, getting it done. And is there any further discussion?
The only thing I'd like to say is I have to appreciate the sheriff's office taking the initiative and go ahead and getting this fixed. It had to be done, as you said, Judge.
And all I want to add is I can appreciate Mike Willow, because we've learned from this now. Now we know that it's possible that we can find other sources to, again, what Commissioner Frias is saying, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And again, we can just keep from adding and adding and adding to the back end of the old jail. And so, yeah, my hat's off to everybody involved in this one here.
Thank you, Commissioner. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. We have one agenda item left on our agenda. That's agenda item number 19, adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, Commissioner DeWitt.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes without exception. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for being here today, our guests and our visitors, department heads, elected officials, employees. And we'll see y'all real soon, hopefully in person next time.
Thank you.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you all.
Y'all be safe.
Thank you, guys. Craig, Candy, y'all are in